Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Audio Fanfics and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto awakened Super Saiyan mode and had a harem with Mikoto, Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Naruto's mood could be described as pure vengeful rage. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze is a member of Team 7 teammates Sasuke Uchiha, the last loyal Uchiha of Konoha, but in Naruto's opinion Sasuke is nothing but arrogant and had a great disregard for teamwork and is also getting taught privately by Kakashi Tem. My second teammate is Sakura Haruno, no clan background and a loyal fangirl and president of the Sasuke Uchiha fan club. She is another lost cause. All she does is oogle Sasuke and screech like a banshee who always berated me every chance she got, but every time she attacked me I knocked her down on her fat forehead. I wondered what I ever saw in that bitch. She's nothing but a Uchiha whore and a disgrace to a kunoichi's profession. Sakura was one of the girls who was nice to him at first, but after her parents found out about me her father told me to stay away from me and I was a demon. But she always listens to whatever her parents say, so the next day I meet her she screeches demon, and from that day on she tried every time when I was alone to abuse me and torment me along with Ino and the rest of Sasuke's fangirls, thinking I would submit. Sasuke was always thinking of ways to humiliate me, but he didn't train to exhaustion like me and practiced jutsu after jutsu until I could do them seamless. He also didn't take in account my ultimate defense that Kenshiro said was stronger than Shukaku's Kantainer's ultimate defense. As for Sakura, she thought Sasuke kept letting me win and kept telling her parents and other people who saw me as Kyuubi what I did. But every time a mob gathered I beat them all to a heap of broken bones and flesh, leaving them on the ground to suffer after calling them hypocrites, and that my father is rolling in his grave right now about his treatment. But she thought I was normal and she was stronger than me. PFFT, yeah right. From the time I was living at the orphanage at age 3 I found out the fox was in me, and let's say he wasn't the demon everyone portrayed him to be, he was like a brother to me. Flashback 6 years ago. June 10, 1998. Naruto Uzumaki is annoyed with the other orphans, patrons and civilians who sneer at him, but he unleashes killing intent on them to scare them off. But Naruto kept wondering why they called him a demon. He doesn't think there's anything demonic about him. He closes his eyes and thinks back to October 10th, and then his eyes widen to the size of dinner plates. He realizes he was the one who the Yondaime sealed the demon fox into. His thoughts darken slowly till the space around turns intangible from the Sannin level killing intent flaring around him, then all of a sudden a black and red aura flares largely around him. He notices and he feels calm and more powerful. He thinks for a few more minutes and then remembers about the Kyuubi and sits cross-legged and meditates. He suddenly feels a pull and slumps his shoulders. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto wakes up and feels water. He gets up to his feet and looks forward to see a large golden gate with the seal for the Shiki Fuin as the lock. "Hey fox, you in there? I want to speak to you," said Naruto in curious voice, but before he could ask again, he sees a giant fox, crimson-orange fur, 9 giant tails flowing behind it. Naruto also notices its eyes are crimson with a slanted slit in the middle. He looks past its eyes and is shocked. The 9 tails' eyes hold sadness and worry, also anger. "Anyo ni-san, are you okay? Why are you sad?" said a concerned Naruto. The fox looks down at Naruto and lowers his head and peers into Naruto's soul and is flabbergasted. This kid's aura is more powerful than his creator's. "Why do you call me older brother? What have I done to deserve such a title?" asks Kyuubi, clearly interested in it Kantainer's decision and angered at these ignorant humans' hate of the blonde. "Because I don't believe you are as bad as these dumb bakas say you are. Besides, you kept me safe since I was a baby," said Naruto in a kind tone, wondering why would a demon fox bother with Konoha when it isn't in his nature to attack others. Kyuubi lets a tear drop and smiles at his little brother. "Thank you kid, I guess it's in my kitsune nature to protect ones you see as family. said Kyuubi in a low tone. Naruto smiles but then he asks. Kyuubi, why did you attack Konoha? I know it wasn't out of hate or fun. Asked Naruto in a voice that made him sound older. You are correct, kid, I didn't do it out of those two you said. I was just sleeping when all of a sudden I saw a red eye with 3 spinning tomos and after that I blacked out, exclaimed Kyuubi. Naruto is silent for a moment. Red eye, 3 spinning tomos, let's see if I can materialize something in here, thought Naruto as he conjured a book on the description of that eye. He reads the first 5 pages, but then his eye turns black and gold with a slanted pupil as his aura rises 100 feet into the air in rage and disintegrates the book he holds from the intense power he is unleashing. Kid, what's wrong? Did you find out something? Asked Kyuubi in a concerned voice. He shivers from the feel of Naruto's aura. It was godly, and cold. Naruto calms down and opens his eyes, but his eyes still hold lots of anger and rage, and says, Sorry Ni-san, I just found out who controlled you and his descendant is a clan heir. Said an angered Naruto. Kyuubi becomes curious but his eyes narrow slightly but speaks in a low voice. Who was it, kid? Who was the one that did this to me? Asked Kyuubi, as he wants to know what idiot did this. Naruto spits the name out like venom, Madara Uchiha, rival of the Shadaime Hokage. As he said this, the room floods with killing intent that made Naruto whistle. Damn, whoever you are, Madara, you just pissed off the wrong fox, thought Naruto. Somewhere in aim, a certain one-eyed masked Uchiha lets out a shiver and looks around. I feel like someone just walked over my grave. I hope whoever it is isn't near, thought Madara as he walks to his hideout. That damn clan of traitors. Kid, listen to me. If you are put on that team with the clan heir, I want you to show him to not mess with us. Said an enraged Kyuubi, as he thinks on what to train Naruto in. He looks at Naruto and goes over some ideas. His body is built for speed, power and precision. Looks like he will be the second successor of the Hokuto and Nanto styles, thought the nine-tailed fox. Kyuubi decides to make Naruto the most powerful fighter in the universe. Naruto, I would like to train you in my 2 fighting styles, Hokuto Shinken and Nanto Saiken, but before that we need to build your strength, speed and precision for you to use them. Said Kyuubi in sensei mode. He then begins to transform before Naruto's eyes. A few seconds later he is in his human form. Kyuubi could be described as a 21-year-old. He is wearing black jeans with a brown belt, ninja sandals, a short-sleeved jacket with a red undershirt, black eyes with black slick spiky hair. His muscles could be described as muscular and large, obviously built for the things as Naruto. Naruto quirks an eyebrow in amazement. Ni-san, is that you? Wow, you're very muscular in your human form. Kyuubi smiles. Thank you, little brother. Since I am going to train you, I shall tell you my name. It is Kenshiro, Grandmaster of the Hokuto and Nanto styles. Now to begin training, but before we begin we will need to find out your affinity, says Kyuubi, as he pulls out a chakra paper and hands it to Naruto. Naruto pushes chakra into the card and watches as the 1/3 of it is ripped to shreds. The bottom crumples into a very tight ball, the right side crumbles into dirt, the left burns with white flames. But as Naruto was about to speak, his eyes widen to the size of dinner plates, as the whole card turns into golden sand. Kenshiro and Naruto stare at it before both brothers let out a shit-eating grin and says, looks like I have affinity for wind, fire and earth, also the bloodline of the Kazekage. Said Naruto in astonishment. Kenshiro nods. Yes, all of them powerful as the Ichibu's control over sand and wind. Looks like you're gonna have a lot of training, but first make the ram hand sign and say Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, make 2,000 of them and send to do elemental training for wind, fire and earth. Explained Kenshiro, as Naruto nods and makes the ram sign and shouts. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto looks and sees 2,000 solid clones appear and standing at attention. Okay guys, split into groups 4. Group 1 Fire Manipulation, Group 2 Earth Manipulation, Group 3 Wind Manipulation and Group 4 I want you guys to play shogi and think up strategies in battle now go, shouted Naruto, as the clones nod. Flashback end. From that day on Naruto trained since he was 2 years old. Kenshiro trained him in chakra control, elemental manipulation, taijutsu, ninjutsu and fuinjutsu. As for his gold dust bloodline, he was on the level of the Sandaime Kazekage. When he was 5 he was already Sannin level in every ninja art known to man. Naruto looks around the mist, but suddenly he hears a rustle in the bush and looks and sees a white bunny. He smirks at a foolish tactic. Really Momochi? Sorry, I'm someone even Yagura should fear. I have your scent now and your partner. Let's see if I was right about Kakashi Baka and the emo and Banshee. That will give me an excuse to become an apprentice, thought Naruto with a dark smirk on his face. He looks for a place to hide and bites his thumb and slams his hand down on the ground and screamed Kuchio's no jutsu. The smoke clears and reveals 40 feet tall hawk with golden eyes. It looks around and spots its summoner. What is it you need, Naruto-sama? Asked Taka. Yes, Taka. I need you to deliver a message to the Sandaime for backup. Tell him to send Team 8 Sum and Yugao, explains a serious Naruto, as he hands the scroll to the hawk and straps it to its leg. Taka nods. Hi Naruto-sama, I will be back in 15 minutes. I hope to meet your friends, said Taka, as he blasts away so fast it leaves a sonic boom. Hokage's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen can be seen doing something even more feared than the cages, paperwork. He was just about to use a fire jutsu on the pile evilness, when suddenly he hears a tapping at the window and is shocked to see a large hawk. Are you the Sandaime? Naruto-sama spoke of. He has a message for you, said Taka, as he handed the Sandaime the scroll and poofed back to the summon realm. Oji-chan, I have some grave news. My team ran into the demon brothers. I protested that we should call for backup, but Sakura in her screeching glory told me that weaklings don't overrule their superiors' decisions. GG, I request backup of Sum Team 8 and Yugao. I can't guarantee I can hold back the urge to make Sakura and this pervert become chopped liver for my summons, so please send backup and tell them to get here on the double. That damn Hatake used me as a shield to take a hit from Zabuza's sword. I am waiting at the client's house. It's time I shed this mask. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. P.S. Oji-san, use Cage Bunchins to do that paperwork. You are the Kami no Shinobi, for Christ's sakes. Sarutobi stared at the paper with a blank look on his face before his eyes glinted with malice as killing intent rolled off of him. You damn bastard Kakashi, you let your hate for Kyuubi control you. It seems I am gonna have to get my grandson off of that damn team of bakas. He makes 3 shadow clones and sends them to do the paperwork. Finally dropping you mask. Naruto-kun, bout time now. Let's get you that back up, thought the Sandaime, as he snaps his fingers. 2 figures appear in a leaf. Shunshin kneeling theses are Anbu captains Tora and Taka. Hi Hokage-sama, shouted the Anbu, as they awaited orders from their superior. Taka, cat, I want you to tell Team 8, Kitsune and Sum to give backup to Namikaze Naruto in Spring Country. Also tell Kurenai to give this to him, said the Sandaime, as he pulled out a black and red Jonin vest. The 2 Anbu smirked under their masks. Inwardly they were cackling in glee. Finally dropping that damn mask about Dame Time Gaki, thought the 2 Anbu captains. Both captains nod and look at each other before looking back towards the Sandaime and ask something that shocks him. Hokage-sama, we were wondering if we could go along with Sum and the others so we could help and train the blonde. We owe it to him as his personal guards. Yes, you can go, but make sure to give Naruto this, said a grinning Sandaime, as he pulled out a black custom Jonin vest with the kanji for Dark Slayer on it in blue. The Anbu in the room smirk behind their mask in pride at the blonde. It's time Naruto showed them who is the strongest in this world, thought the pride-filled Anbu, as their thoughts wandered. 3 groups walked in. Kurenai Yuahi reporting for backup Hokage-sama, said a black-haired beauty. Sume Inazuka reporting for backup, said a gruff female voice, known as Sume Inazuka, one of the Leaf's Ice Queens. Kitsune reporting for duty Hokage-sama, said a Anbu with a fox mask. He looked around at the groups before him and spoke in his Hokage voice. I have received a message from Namikaze Naruto, who is requesting backup since his team encountered Zabuza Momochi in Wave Country. Said the Sarutobi, gaining gasps from the females in the room as this man was a very ruthless man and an efficient killer. Sume asks a question about where is Naruto, but then the atmosphere becomes heavy as the Hokage's eyes glow with rage. She is curious about this. Hokage-sama, why do you look like you are gonna execute someone? Said in a blunt manner. Hiruzen seethed, but managed to speak in a rage-filled voice. Hatake used Naruto-kun as a substitution so his precious Uchiha wouldn't die, but Naruto managed to shatter the blade. His team tried to kill him, but he created a shockwave that knocked them away so he could escape just as the missing nin fled. Sume hears this, growls in pure rage at what this fool did to her Naruto, and her hair spikes and eyes turn into slits. You would think she had the eyes of a demon. Kurenai gasped at this. To think Kakashi of all people would go this far for the Uchiha. Her respect for him took a huge nosedive. Understatement of the year. Kurenai, Kakashi is gonna get docked pay and won't be training his team at all. Thought the Sandame. He thinks for a while before his lips split into a evil grin that threatened to split his face. The Chunin and Anbu see this and shudder. If I wasn't gonna meme the Cyclops, I would feel sore for him. Thought a whimpering Sume. Era seems Kakashi-senpai is in for it now. Maybe now Otudo can finally relax, thought the Anbu, as the Hokage's evil chuckle echoes throughout the village, causing many to run for the hills. Back with Naruto. Naruto is just finishing his last set of 2,500 sit-ups when he hears this surrogate grandfather's evil chuckle that he smirks demonically. So sadistic. I feel bad for Hatake Banshee and the emo. What about you, Ken? Said Naruto inside his head, as he sees his brother do mock version of a thinking pose but then smirks evilly. Nope, can't find any reason to care what punishment the old monkey gives them, the demon lord said in a nonchalant shrug of his shoulders. At this, Naruto shakes his head in amusement but wonders about the safety of Tazuna and his family. He clenches his fists till his knuckles pop, but then he picks up a life signature that had a bit of Kenshiro's Yuki in it. His eyes then widen, but then narrow when he senses three familiar signature moving toward it at a Sao pace. Naruto's aura spikes as he roars throughout the country in rage and anger at these pathetic humans. Oh, he was going to enjoy ripping them a new one. I need to get Kushi-hime out of there before Zabuza or those traitors get to her, thought Naruto. He presses his fingers to his forehead and concentrates on the signature. Few seconds later he vanishes, in a blur of speed to the destination. Naruto can still remember the day he found out about Kushina being alive. He kept wondering what happened to her, but when he found out he was shaken with rage and sadness. Flashback Forest of Death Tower. Naruto could be seen looking through some files he stole from the home of the elders. Those three were the ones he saw watching him from a suddenly stops on one file that could give him some answers. He opened the file and started to read. The more he read, the more his azure green eyes started to glow with rage and sadness. Naruto growls, as his aura flares up while channeling cage-level killing intent that scared a few animals that were in the forest and made the hearts of some root Anbu explode in their chests. Kenshiro wakes up and senses its container's emotions and is shocked at the rage and hatred that surpasses his own. Kid, what is wrong? Why do I feel so angry? Asked a concerned Kenshiro. Naruto tells him to look into his memories. He does and feels disgusted at this village. They planned on turning him and his mother into breeding factories when he became old enough and captured Kushina. Naruto's head snaps up when he senses multiple chakra signatures closing in on his position, but suddenly his senses pick up a signature that had two other sources in his body. He looks and narrows his eyes as they flash a glowing green. So this is the asshole who tried to turn me into a weapon, and he apparently isn't pleased that I am stronger than he thought. Looks like Tay Cripple brought his teammates and Inu HMPH. I think it's time I show them why I sent all those fools to the hospital in Maruj. Naruto smirked ferally but suddenly caught a hand of condensed lightning chakra and frowned. You know Inu Baka, you are supposed to use assassination jutsu, but your Chidori disgraces the word assassination. Naruto spoke as if he was speaking about the weather. He broke the Anbu's thumband, punched him through the roof and leapt after him, landing on the forest floor hard enough to create spiderweb cracks. Danzo, Kaharu and Homura, you have to the count of 4 to bring your wrinkly asses out here. I am going to make you pay for trying to ruin my Ka-chan's life and mine. Yelled a furious Naruto as his fists clenched until his knuckles popped. He may seem angry on the outside, but on the inside he is calm as water. He focuses his fire chakra in his throat and shouts, Kaden, Goku Makaku. As he said this, he blows out a giant wall of fire that was a nightshade blue toward the entrance, burning every tree in the forest. Back to the entrance. The three were about to send in the root squads but suddenly jump back. Training ground 42 entrance. The three elders stand outside waiting for the root Anbu and Kakashi to bring Naruto and place the seals on him, but suddenly. Bring your asses here, elders, I know what you did to mother, I will break you pieces trash. Naruto's voice boomed throughout the forest. The elders. His knuckles popped. Tazuna's house. A red-haired woman could be seen standing up, in a stiff posture ready to strike at any threats. Right now she is radiating killing intent at these three bastards, more so, at a certain Cyclops. This woman could be described as a goddess, red-maroon hair that cascades down her backside, wearing a full-body Anbu suit with arm and shin guards, holding a very elegant crimson-colored O-katana. This sword was made by a blacksmith who prayed to the shrine of the Kyuubi and asked it to bless the sword with its chakra, and was forged with titanium chakra conductive steel. This is known as Chishio Haim. Right now Kushina was holding Kakashi by his throat while the other two stooges were being held by her chakra chains, and as you could say, hell hath no fury like a mother was intent on making them pay. But a knock could be heard at Tay door, but before it could be answered it was sliced many times before a click was heard. The door fell to many pieces and the figure Kushina dreamed about walked through, and she feels her heartbeat faster. Naruto Namikaze could be seen walking in, wearing a short-sleeved high-collared shirt with the Uzumaki and Namikaze symbols on his back, hair spiked up and reached to his back. Minato and Tobarama's hairstyle, white wristbands with seals. For weapons, black pants with a red lightning streak down the side and black shinobi sandals, and at his waist was a sword that made the traitors of Team 7 pale. It was a 15-inch 4-foot-wide katana, a black and white diamond patterned hilt and a black blade, dark as the nightski. This sword was a special sword made from Naruto's chakra, Tuki, and Kenshiro's Yuki, the ultimate sword, Black Sun. Demon, how did you survive that slash to the chest from Zabuza's sword? There's no way you could have survived. Said Scarecrow hissed. Inwardly he was scared of the situation his team was in. What he didn't know is that Naruto called for backup. Naruto looks at Kushina and smiles at his long-lost mother and speaks in a loving voice, Ka-chan, we are finally reunited at last. Kushina tears up at this, and much to everyone's shock she kisses him. He stumbles a little but returns it. He would have continued until a certain loyal Uchiha bitch decided to open her trap. You are so disgusting, Naruto, no wonder my dad said you were a freak. She would have said more until she was blasted by killing intent that rivaled Kenshiro's, who raised an eyebrow at this, impressed, but Naruto was staring at her with an intense emotionless look. It made Kakashi and Sasuke shiver. This feeling, the Dobi is just like him, thought a certain brooding emo, as he is currently shaking. How is the demon brat so powerful? How did he get this powerful? Danzo and the elders made sure his growth was stunted. thought a skeptical scarecrow, but before he continues his train of thought he hears a sword being unsheathed. They turn to see Naruto lifting Sakura up by her hair with only one hand clenching tightly around her skull, so cries out in pain only for her head to explode in a massive amount of gore. Naruto looks at his hand, still staring at his team, and licks the blood off his gloved hand slowly as a dark grin etches on his face. Tastes just like Jasime tea with a hint of honey in it," said Naruto in his dark voice, echoing throughout the house. Sasuke and Kakashi try to kill Naruto by throwing kunai at him, but all of a sudden sand blasts from the ground and forms a barrier around him. Kushina hears Naruto's voice and feels her panties wet, and she sits on the stairs and slowly fingers her swollen, moaning in her Mindo. "My Naruto-sama is so dangerous and hot. When we get back to Konoha I get to have him first and his kits," thought a horny, submissive Kushina as she stares at her son, who had an air about him that commanded respect. But suddenly she hears two screams of pain and smirks sadistically. "Naruto-sama, show them their place," Kushina thought with a dark smirk growing on her face. Naruto yawns in boredom. "You know I'm just gonna knock you two out. I don't want to dirty my blade with your disgusting blood, so night night," Naruto drawled lazily, as he smacks two seals he formed out of his chakra on their chests, keeping them out of commission until he decides to release them. Naruto looks at a blushing Tsunami and lets out a foxy grin that makes her and Kushina feel hot under the collar. "Tsunami-chan, can you put Hatake and Uchiha in a separate room?" She nods and he pulls out some rope. "Make sure those rope are positioned so they can't make hand seals." She nods and picks them up and leave. He turns to go to his room but smells his aka Harem's pheromones and smiles ferally. Warning. Without warning, his aka Harem rips his shirt and pants off in one swoop. She sees his 13 feet hardened member and licks her lips in lust. She looks at Naruto with a lusty grin and strokes him slowly. Naruto groans in pleasure. Kushina sees this and can't help but grin seductively. "Do you like this, Naruto-sama?" Kushina asks with a saucy smile. Naruto moans as she strokes him faster, but suddenly he feels his breath hitch in his throat and sees Kushina wet mouth engulf his member all the way down to the hip. Naruto growls at this and grabs her by the hair and face her. "MMMH, my god, Kushi-chan, your mouth feels so good," Naruto moans, as continues to suck him down her throat. She starts to bob her head up and down as she fingers her relentlessly, as she is feeling so much pleasure. It is driving her mad. She hums, making him moan louder. Naruto feels his twitch violently. He groans out between moans. "K Kushi-chan, I'm about to come, let me pull out." He cries out in warning, but Kushina takes him out of her mouth and licks him up and down on the underside. "No, Naruto-sama, I want to taste your essence, release it in my mouth," she says as Kushina takes him back down her throat, licking her tongue all around his while sucking him harder than before. Naruto yells as he comes. "Kushi-chan, I'm coming," said Naruto, as his cum shoots out like a hydrant, making Kushina's eyes widen, but she swallows it down in gallons as it makes her stomach bulge a bit. She licks the cum off her lips. Naruto felt a little tired. But not much, considering he was an uber-powerful demon prince. Naruto easily stood up on his feet, hardly affected by his very first orgasm. "Ka-chan. That felt amazing." Naruto suddenly felt a strange, powerful urge overcome him. "Ka-chan. Get down on all fours and turn around," Naruto commanded, and it sent a wave of pleasure down Kushina's spine. It was his natural instincts as the future demon king that were flaring up. He needed to show his mate just who was in control in their relationship. No longer was she just his mother, now she would be his mate. This Naruto mentally swore to himself. "Yes, Naruto-sama." Kushina instantly obeyed, dropping to the floor on all fours and turning around, showing her shapely round and dripping wet to her son. Her was fully erect out of its sheath. Naruto could smell just how horny his mother was. He moved closer to Kushina with his thick rod poised to impale her. But he stopped just short entering her. Who do you obey, Ka-chan? Who are you loyal to? His blue eyes shined with sadistic glee in denying his mother the pleasure of his. He had a dark smirk on his face. Kushina moaned at his demands, simply loving being ordered by her son, master. I obey only Naruto-sama. I am loyal only to you, my Naruto-sama. She looked at him submissively over her shoulder with love and complete and utter loyalty in her eyes. My body is your toy to use as you wish, please me. Naruto smirked darker. Correct answer, Ka-chan, and now here's your reward. He instantly plunged his rod deep into her, placing his hands on her round to keep himself steady. His huge went all the way up to her womb. Suddenly a shadowy black aura surrounded his body and arms formed out of the aura and waved behind him like his tails would. Naruto began to move, slowly thrusting in and out. You like this, don't you, Ka-chan? Oh Kami. So big. Yes, Naru-kun. Kushina screamed in pleasure, moving her hips with her son's thrusts, her double J cup jiggling up and down. Naruto mentally controlled his extra arms, and them slither under his mother and caress her. You're mine now, Kushi-chan, mine for eternity. You're mine and mine alone. His thrusts begin to go faster. Oh yes, Naruto-sama. Yes, I am yours, I belong only to you, my master. Kushina screamed, feeling her son's thick members sliding against her inner walls. She also felt his arms grope her and his hands on her. It was a better sensation than her mind had conjured earlier. It was simply amazing. No. It far to pleasure driving. Kushina couldn't think of a word to describe the pleasure she is feeling. Her mind is clouded in lust. Naruto increased his speed. Let's see how much you can take, Ka-chan. Oh yes. Naruto-sama. Kushina cried out in pleasure. Naruto soon pounded roughly into Kushina, while his aura arms played with her. Oh yes, Naruto-sama. Play with my. I am nothing more than your little. Kushina cried out. Naruto grunted as he pounded into his mother, feeling her inner walls clamp down on his. His hands continued kneading her until her milk began to trickle out. Kushina was on cloud 9 right now. She felt her son's thrusts pounding her. It wouldn't take long now. Naruto already felt his about to burst its seed. Ka-chan, I'm going to. Kushina looked back at him with a loving smile. Come inside me, Naruto-sama. I want to bear your kits. With such sensation of her body, Kushina finally couldn't hold back anymore and screamed. Naru-sama. Her clamped on his tightly as it released, and at the same time Naruto cummed in his mother's. He joined his mother in her scream. Kushi-hime. Naruto's seed flowed into his mother's and womb for half an hour before he finally stopped. Naruto pulled himself from his mother and Kushina collapsed on the floor, her long red hair matted down with sweat and really messed up. He had a little bit of sweat on him, but he was mostly fine. Kushina was on the floor sweating, her body still tingling from the intense intercourse she just went through. It was even better than she imagined. Her was still not only spilling her juices out, but some of Naruto's hot thick seed was dripping out onto the floor as well. Kushina was very satisfied indeed. Her son did incredibly well for his very first time. She couldn't help but fall even deeper in love with him. Her womb was filled to the very brim with his hot thick seed and it dripping from her along with her juices. Naruto gazed down at his mother. Her double J cup heaved as she panted and Naruto saw his mother lactating, her milk was trickling out. He remembered when he was a baby and used to drink her milk, and for some reason he wanted to taste it again. Naruto scooped his mother into his arms bridal style, much to her surprise and delight. His much greater strength allowed him to carry her with ease despite his smaller stature. Kushina blushed pink. Naru-kun's carrying me. Naruto gazes at her lactating nipples with hunger. Kushi-hime, you're leaking. Naru-kun. Kushina felt him latch on to her right nipple and began to suckle it, just like he did when he was a baby. Oh my Kami, Naru-kun. Kushina moaned in sheer ecstasy as her son drank her milk. Naruto then switched to her left nipple and gave it the same treatment, suckling it and drinking as much milk as could come out. Kushina wrapped her arms around her son, mate, as he drank her milk. She absolutely loved it. This increased their bond even more. Soon Naruto finished drinking and licked up the bit of milk that was dribbling down his lips. Ka-chan, I'm going to mark you as my first mate. He looked for a good spot to bite and found that her collarbone would be the perfect place for his mark. Naruto leaned over and sunk his fangs into his mother's neck right on her collarbone. Kushina moaned from the bite as Naruto's Yuki swirled around the bite mark, forming a mark. It was a black wolf head with Naruto's special dojutsu, and several spiraling tails surrounded it. End scene. After Naruto bit her, Kushina felt her power increase tenfold and a tingling sensation at her backside. Her eyes change from violet to a golden yellow with a slit pupil, and then she sees Naruto on the floor doing one-hand push-ups. 999 sextillion 996 quintillion 999 quadrillion 997 trillion 999 billion 998 million 999,999, 1,000,000, said a ripped Naruto. Kushina's eyes widened to the size of dinner plates. She had no idea her son had this kinda stamina, and he's only 14. She trails his body up and down and licks her lips. MMMH, my Soichi-sama is gonna be a god when he gets older. I know there will be other mates, but only me and Mikoto will be the alpha females, thought Kushina, as Naruto allowed his hair to smooth out and cover one side of his eyes that gave him that mysterious look. Virgil and Dante's hair at Temmin grew. Naruto looks at Kushina. Kushi-chan, we have to get dressed and wait outside for Sum-chan and the others, said Naruto in mission mode. Kushina nods but stops and asks Naruto about the Uchiha and Hatake. Naruto shakes his head and says, those two are going to be put on probation until the Chunin exams, but as for my rank, well, you will just have to see Kushi-hime, said a smirking Naruto. Kushina pouts at this and tries the puppy dog eyes on Naruto, but all she sees is Naruto quirking an eyebrow. Kushina-chan, I already know every kunoichi in the elemental nations knows that, but I am immune to it, but nice try, finished Naruto with a mischievous Naruto. Kushina and Naruto walk outside and sit on the roof waiting for backup but decide to sleep. 2 hours later, Naruto and Kushina wake up to see Kurenai, Sum and Yugao looking at them with their jaws dropping to the ground. Naruto raises an eyebrow at this. Sum-chan, Kurenai, Yugao-chan, you're going to catch flies if you don't close your mouths, Naruto said in a voice filled with amusement. This snaps them out of their stupor. They blush in embarrassment, but Sum sniffs the air and grins mischievously. Naruto raises an eyebrow at this. Sum-chan, may I remind you why I am the Akutare no Makai in Konoha, Naruto said in a warning tone. At this, Sum blushes and whimpers in submissiveness. Kushina and the others stare at Naruto in amazement, but suddenly Naruto's head snaps towards the direction of the bridge. His golden eyes narrow viscously and speaks in an authoritative tone. Tazuna, get your family inside the house and barricade the doors and windows. Zabuza is on the bridge with his partner, and I got a little score to settle with him for that mark on my chest, said a venomous Naruto, as he disappears in an afterimage towards the bridge. Tazuna and his family nods and went inside the house while Sum and the others dashed towards the bridge, but leave 4 cage buncheons for protection. Tazuna's bridge. Naruto appears in a burst of wind and dissipates the mist but smiles ferally at his opponents. Well, if it isn't Momochi Zabuza Kurigakure no Kijin, I have been waiting to pay you back for that scar you put on my chest, but I'll go easy on you since that damn Uchiha used me as a substitution for that hit, said Naruto in a very angered tone. Zabuza is sweating but speaks. Look Gaki, I didn't mean to. Your mother hired me to bring you to her, but your team screwed things up. I'm on your side, so please listen to what I have you to say. Said a pleading Zabuza. Naruto nodded and motioned for him to continue. Zabuza nods in appreciation. While I was on the run, we were about to be killed. Your mother saved both me and Haku, and from that day on I pledged my loyalty to her, and she helped me get stronger and also helped me protect Haku, who I saw as my son. Said Zabuza in a fatherly tone. Haku is shocked at this and starts shaking uncontrollably. Zabuza sees this and hugs his son while Haku is crying his eyes out behind his mask. Naruto sees this and smiles, but it drops and he hears a whistling sound. His eyes widen but narrow. Zabuza, move! Shouted Naruto as Zabuza and Haku jumped behind him as Naruto charged his emerald green Tuki through his sword and unleashes a Kunatsu wave at the shooters. He sheathes his sword with a click. Zabuza and Haku hear a click and turn to see the air ground split and screams from the other side, and on the other side of the bridge they see Gato looking scared with a brown stain on his pants while his men are looking at Naruto with fear. Suddenly Gato gets some courage back, but Naruto still detects fear in his voice. Well Zabuza, I didn't expect you to betray me. Zabuza and Haku snorted at that statement, saying they never were working for him. Gato hears this but continues. But since I have more numbers than you, I decided to have you executed. Besides, ninja cost too much money to hire, and I will be sure turn those 5 bitches into whores after today. Gato finished with a lecarious grin. But all of a sudden the air around them changed when they heard someone chuckling echoing throughout the wind. This sound made everyone's hairs stand up on end. They look at the source to see Naruto chuckling with one of his golden eyes peering out of his bangs with a bloodthirsty grin spit on his face. Fingering the hilt on his sword, you know, I didn't think you had the balls to actually say that about my mates. But now Gato, you pissed off the wrong demon king around here, and it's time to face your punishment, but I won't need to move from this spot. Naruto said in a demonic voice as his sword glows with his azure green Tuki aura. He slips into a Leto stance. Zabuza Kyofu, Haku o Tudo, stand back. They complied and watch as Naruto's aura forms into a demon fox mask with black and yellow sclera eyes. All of a sudden Naruto slashes at the air. They look to see what happened and gasp in astonishment and respect just in time to say Gato's army slashed into gore by azure lines appearing out of thin air. All they hear is a shink. Naruto closes his eyes and whispers in a demonic voice, Dimension/Barrage Level 1. Naruto finishes in a small whisper, as the dimension web cracks into many pieces in Zabuza and Haku's Minde. Naruto's Kenjutsu is beyond Akage's level. This Gaki's stronger than Madara and Hashirama. Thought an awe-stricken Zabuza and Haku. Gato tries to run to safety, but before he even moves, Naruto grabs him by the collar, bringing him eye level to Naruto, who had a smile that spoke of unlimited pain and suffering. Now what was that you were saying about raping my himes? At this Gato starts to pale and sweat, but Naruto turns toward the other side of the bridge in time to see the other wave citizens holding pitchforks and other different weapons. Suddenly an idea clicked in Naruto's head. Naruto looked at Gato with a very scary ass grin. Picture Hollow Ichigo's grin. Yay, that's scary as now I know what to do with you, said Naruto in a sadistic tone. As he throws Gato in front of the crowd, Naruto turns to leave, but not before saying, he's all yours, citizens of Wave. I think it's only fair that you got your vengeance for Kaiza and the families you lost. Goodbye. Naruto finishes as he, Zabuza and Haku disappeared in a futon shunshin just at the last second as Gato's tortured screams rang throughout the village. Tazuna's house. Naruto arrives with Kushina and the others to inform Tazuna that Gato and his army are gone and they will be heading back to Konoha for mission debrief. But not before Inari cries about his niece-san leaving. Naruto smiles. Don't worry, O Tudo, I will come and visit you whenever I can, but first, since you want to learn Kenjutsu, I have a present for you. Naruto pulls out 2 scrolls and hands them to Inari. Ototo, since you have the same body type as me, I will give you my personal copy of my Kenjutsu style, Dark Slayer. In the other scroll is a training sword that is shaped like an okatana. I want you to practice every kata till it's instinctual to you, and I might make you my apprentice. Grow strong, Inari, to protect your precious people," said Naruto in his big brother tone, as he ruffles Inari's hair, who smiles at his Ni-san. "I promise, Naruto ni, I will be strong like OU," said a happy Inari. Naruto looks toward Zabuza and the others tan at the 3 scrolls in his hand, 2 with T kanji for human, the other for body. He addresses to the others, "Let's move out, guys, I want us to arrive at Konoha in 2 hours. Finished Naruto, just as he hears Every's highs, all of them blur in a burst of speed. Tazuna turns to the villagers and asks, "What should we name the bridge?" They can't come up with a name, but Inari smiles and says, "The Great Naruto Bridge," finishes a happy Inari. The others hear this and chant the bridge's name with Naruto. Naruto stops on a tree branch to turn his head back and chuckles in amusement. Kushina hears him and asks what's wrong. He shakes his head and smiles. "Looks like the villagers named the bridge after me. Looks like my Otuto will become a leader like me," finishes a proud Naruto, who smiles with the others at the happiness he feels, and then move forward with an explosive amount of speed toward Konoha. 2 hours later, Azumo and Katetsu, nicknamed the Eternal Chunins for being on guard duty for many years. Right now Katetsu is bored and looks about to fall asleep, but Azumo knocks him over the head, making Katetsu mutter, "What in Kami's name possessed you to smack me over the head just for trying to rest my eyes?" finishes a annoyed Chunin guard. Azumo was about to reply, but all of a sudden stops to look at the forest just into time to see 7 blurs blast to the Hokage's tower with speed, making the Hiraishin look like a joke, making him fall over muttering, "Itai," but looks and sees Katetsu laughing his off and snickering. Azumo fumes and starts chasing his partner around with kunais. Others see this but shrug and go about their business. What they didn't know was shit about to hit the fan. Hokage Tower . The Sandaime was known as a patient man on and off the battlefield, but right now these demands from civilians and corrupt council were really starting to get on his last nerves. After he saw a request to banish Naruto, something in his mind snaps. He jumps from his seat, pulling out his bow staff, and smashes his desk along with the paperwork, huffing and puffing, beating his chest like an ape, making the Anbu hidden sweat drop. I don't blame him, I would blown that shit up with a bunch of explosive notes, thought the sympathetic Anbu. All of a sudden Naruto and the others file into the room and bows speaking, "Mission complete, Hokage-sama." Sarutobi sees Naruto and smiles. "Excellent job, Genin Naruto, or should I say Elite Junin Naruto," finishes a proud Sandaime, who to sees Naruto, Zabuza and Haku Elite Junin vests. Naruto sees, cries at this and hugs his Oji-san, saying thank you. Who the Anbu snicker and asks, is their little bro getting soft on them, but are silenced as Naruto grins at them. "Just for that, me and you guys are going to get real acquainted with my black sun katana," said Naruto in a sadistic tone, as the Anbu in the room pale and disappear with a shunshin. Naruto laughs his off with the others looking on with amusement. Suddenly Naruto remembers something. "Oji-san, I think I shall leave with you the traitors that I sealed into this scroll." Naruto hands his grandfather 2 scrolls with the human kanji while he destroys the 3rd scroll. "Oji-san, just put those 2 assholes on probation till the Chunin exams. I will be going undercover as a solo team." The others nod at this, since he heard rumors of Orochimaru trying to invade the village with Suna and Iwa. "Okay Naruto, I'll give you the keys to your clan estate so you can have 2-month vacation to train and relax." Naruto nods and smiles thankfully. "Catch ya later, Oji-san. Me Kushi-chan and Yugao have to work out on our new bed," Naruto says in a husky voice, as he grabs Kushina and Yugao, who are sporting lustful eyes, disappearing in a wind shunshin. Sarutobi raises an eyebrow but shrugs, muttering, "A lucky bastard. that makes the others snicker at him, but they look away with an innocent expression when he glares at them. All night people would be hearing loud moans and screams of pleasure and the sayings of Naruto-sama. Every woman blushed at this, going home with dirty thoughts in their mind about a certain blonde-haired time-skip council room. Naruto could be seen yawning in boredom as he stands before the council, being brought up on false charges. He looks to see the clan heads. Hyuga Hiyashi, clan head of the main house of the Hyuga clan, one of the strongest Jukin users to come out of Konoha. Shibi Aburame, clan head of the Aburame clan, and is rumored to have bugs that feed on Yuki. Shikaku Nara Jonin, commander of Konoha and clan head of the Nara clan. Sume Inzuzaka, captain of tracking division and clan head of Inzuzaka clan. Akamichi Shuza, head of the Akamichi clan. Inoichi Yamanaka, head of the Yamanaka clan, works at INT division. The elders were Homura, Kaharu and Danzo Shimura. These elders were responsible for the orchestrated attacks on Naruto, although failed. Then there's the civilian councils who had managed to dig themselves into the shinobi part of the village and tried to execute him every chance they had. Right now the Sandame clan heads in Naruto had twitching eyebrows and were considering razing the entire room, but they had to decide what to do with the Uchiha. But sadly a certain bitch of a howler monkey had to open her mouth. Hokage-sama, this demon should be put to death for killing my daughter and injuring his sensei and teammate. Screeched the pink-haired banshee. Before she could continue, Naruto turned his head towards her. Woman, me and neither of the clan heads have the time or patience to hear your damn screeching, so do us a favor and shut the up before I hang you with your damn vocal cords. Snarled Naruto. Sake Haruno turned red in the face at the audacity of this brat and screeched, "See, this demon should be executed for threatening me. If you won't do it, I will," said the insane Haruno. Just as she was about 3 feet from him, her head exploded, sending blood on the other civilians and elders, excluding the Sandame. Naruto looks at the body in disappointment. Sighs, idiot woman, those without ninja training cannot hope to get close to me without suffering to my third taijutsu style that I based off of Hiyashi-sama's Jukin. Said aboard Naruto. The other clan heads' eyes almost bulged out of their eye sockets at this. This kid based his third taijutsu style off of Hyuga's Jukin. Unbelievable. Thought the impressed clan heads and a proud Hyuga clan head. Sarutobi asked Naruto, what is the style's name? Hake Satan no Ken. Replied Naruto in a proud voice. Sarutobi nodded, impressed. What rank do you say your style would be? Asked a curious Sandame. Naruto and Hiyashi smirk and say in unison, it would be SSS ranked, Hokage-sama. Hiyashi and Naruto look at each other and burst out laughing with the other clan heads. Naruto suddenly remembers something and sent a cold look toward Homura, Kaharu and Danzo, who start sweating at his look. Oji-san, did you know that some of the people I sent to the hospital were Anbu when I was little? Said an annoyed Naruto, as the other clan heads and Hokage are thinking this kid did that to the Anbu dam. Thought the proud clan heads, but were confused. Inoichi asked what did the sign on their mask look like. One simple word spoke volumes and angered the Hokage, root. Danzo's cronies had the nerve to interrupt me, Kushina and Yugao sleeping, and tried to place a loyalty seal on me. Said a pissed off Naruto. The other people in the room shivered from the sheer pressure Naruto's Tuki is unleashing, but Naruto gets an idea. Hokage-sama, I also found out that the elders were responsible for Kushi-chan leaving, saying I was dead. Said Naruto in a sad tone that made the others angry toward the elders. Naruto snapped his fingers as the room suddenly glows. I placed seals to prevent any Shunshins entering or leaving this room. Naruto said in a colder than ice voice, permission to execute, Hokage-sama. The Sandame said in a blank voice, permission granted, elite Chunin Naruto. He advanced toward the elders. Danzo yelled, root. All of a sudden 5 thuds were heard. It turned out to be the bodies of Danzo's dogs being sliced to pieces. Before the elders could even protest, Naruto held out his hand and made the sand restrain them. The others gasp in shock at seeing the golden sand. Sarutobi looks at Naruto in shock. Naruto-kun, you have the gold dust Kekai Genkai of the Yondaime Cage, said Hiruzen in a awe-filled voice. Naruto nods and explains, I found out my father Minato Namikaze was a close cousin of the Cage, but the gold dust bloodline skipped him but passed its most powerful version to me. Right now my control over it surpasses even the one-tailed raccoon that the bloodline hailed from, said Naruto in a powerful voice. The others' leaders' eyes bulge out of their sockets at this. Who wouldn't? The Aikibi was known to have limitless control over earth, sand and wind. But to hear this village's dead last have control over it surpassing Aikibi made them shudder at how powerful he will be when he gets older. Naruto looks back toward the elders with a look of untold death in his eyes as his hands twitch. The sand coffins are pushed underground. Naruto stomps his foot on the ground. Giant sand burial, said Naruto in a powerful voice. Everyone winces as they hear the sound of muffled screams and the sound of something being crushed. Naruto looks at his grandfather and smiles a genuine smile that made his surrogate grandfather happy. Now you can make things better like your senseis wanted. I will take my leave now. See you in the morning, said Naruto, as he walked home with his mates in tow. Sarutobi sheds a tear. Thank you Masuko, I will never forget this even in death. Sarutobi finishes in a whisper. The other clan heads see this and smile in happiness for the two who suffered because of the civilians and elders meddling. The Sandaime wipes the tear away. Meeting over, everyone gets some sleep tonight. Chunin exams are tomorrow and I need Naruto to do his part solo in the exams, finishes Sarutobi in a tired voice. As he walks to his clan compound he looks up to see Minato and his sensei smiling at him with a look that said thank you Sarutobi for taking care of the village and our legacy. Sarutobi then promises to always be there for Naruto. I wonder how proud our father and uncle would be if they saw you now Naruto-kun. A happy Sandaime. If he stayed longer he would have heard a faintwayer already proud of him Saru. Naruto goes to sleep shedding tears of joy at finally being together with his loves. Arigato to San, Kenshiro ni San, Hiyashi Oji-san and Sarutobi Oji-san, you will always hold a special place in my heart, said a happy Naruto. Naruto looks over at the competition at Training 44, did I get that right? With a bored gaze only noting the interesting people was a blonde girl from Kumo, a green-haired girl from Taki, a black-haired girl from Iowa, and a red-haired girl with black rings around her eyes looking at him with a grin of a rapist making him shudder at how they met. Flashback start. Naruto was just walking down the street with eating his dango when all of a sudden he heard a bunch of shouting looking into the alleyway. He sees Konohamaru along with a scared Ino and two Sunanins, one a blonde girl with a war fan on her back looking irritated while the other is a cat-looking man wearing purple paint on his face sneering at his little brother, his fist swinging toward the boy's face. Naruto narrowed his eyes and blurred, catching the boy's fist while grabbing Konohamaru in his other arm in a split second. Is there something I can help you with, because I know you were not about to assault the Sandaime's grandson in broad daylight. Sunanin, he growled, his eyes flashing purple with 9 rings around the pupil, making the man in the cat suit pale and sweat at how close he was to starting a war. The blonde girl looks at Naruto and blushes at how handsome he is but snaps out of it. Listen sir, forgive my idiot of a brother, he had no idea, honest. The girl pleaded to him, getting a slow nod before Naruto lets up on the key, seeing Ino and the others are barely breathing. What are your names? Naruto said coolly while smelling pheromones, sand, and blood. Kankuro Sabaku. The cat man said arrogantly, getting a disinterested look from Naruto that made him seethe. Tamari Sabaku, she said while staring at his chest, getting a smirk from him. Naruto smiled warmly and patted them on the shoulder, getting confused looks from the two Sunanin. It's good to see you Itokos. Tamari and Kankuro gasped hearing him call them cousins. Seeing their expressions, he chuckles and mentally commanded his sand ability to activate, getting wide-eye looks from everyone including a figure in the tree. Tamari stuttered out, "That's 2 sands gold dust, how do you have it?" Naruto smiled and suddenly shot the sand at the tree, making 2 people jump out of the branches, one with an angry look, the other a curious, yet hungry look. He looks at the girl who has shoulder-length red hair, beautiful eyelashes, a toned body with luscious curves, beautiful sea foam green eyes, black rings under her eyes showing a lack of sleep, a pair of low D cup and a sand gourd on her back. "How did you know I was there?" she asked in a monotone voice with curiousness in her voice, shocking Tamari and Kankuro, who always knew she kills everyone who attacks her. Naruto quirked an eyebrow. "Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Subaku," he replied in the same monotone as her, getting an amused smirk from Tamari and her, while Kankuro is looking paler than Orochimaru. She nods. "Gaia number Sabaku, it is a pleasure to meet you, Namikaze-sama," Gaia said with a lustful glint in her eye as she is listening to Shukaku telling her to take him as her mate. Naruto senses her emotions and starts to sweat inwardly. "Kyuubi, please tell me that Shukaku isn't in the mating season," he pleaded. Kyuubi looks confused for a minute till he looks at who he is talking about and pales. "Kit, Shukaku is in the heat now," he yelled hysterically at Naruto, who jumped back from Gaia, who giggles creepily as her eyes flash into a 4-pointed star stalking toward him. Tamari looks confused till she realized that Shukaku is in the heat and pales. Kankuro back away slowly. She whispered to him in a frightened tone, getting a confused look from the elder Sabaku till Tamari whispered in his ear and watched as he paled too before copying his sister. "Oi, Dobi, hand over that sword, it will have better use for a Uchiha than you," said the emo lord in an arrogant tone, making Gaia glare at him for calling her beloved a dead last. Naruto puts his hand on her shoulder, stopping her. "Gaia-chan, he isn't worth it, come on, I want to show you guys around the village and talk." "Konohamaru, Moegi, Udon, go home for today," Naruto ordered, getting nods from the children, who ran home and ignored Ino, who was glaring at him, and Sasuke, who is looking livid at being ignored. Sasuke and Ino let out a war cry before charging at Naruto's back, not seeing his smirk before being grabbed by golden sand and tossed all the way across Konoha, making Gaia drool at his control over sand. Tamari sends Naruto a dry look, which he gives her an innocent look, making her Kankuro snicker before running for his life from an enraged Tamari. Flashback. Naruto sees the gates open and sprints, leaving afterimages in his wake while keeping an eye out for Orochimaru, and stops just to see a team of Odo shinobi drop in front of him. 2 had arrogant looks in their eyes, while the girl had a scared look in her eye, making his eyes narrow as his Rinnegan flashes. "What do you want, Odo nin?" Naruto said coldly, making the girl and the guy in bandages sweat, while the spiky-haired one jumped at him with his fist back, only for him to get backhanded away by a replica of Naruto. Kin gasps as she sees 9 Narutos with the same eyes. "Say hello to my 9 paths of pain," he said in monotone, making the spiky-haired boy glare at him with anger before shooting a wave of air from his hands, only for one of them to absorb it into his hands. "Pathetic," Naruto said coldly before blurring behind both of them and plunged his hands through their chest, instantly sending them to the next world, while the girl is shaking badly. "Please don't hurt me, I never wanted this, I'll promise to be your slave if you want, I beg of you, Namikaze-sama," she whimpered, getting a soft look from Naruto, who places a finger under her chin, tilting her head up into her eyes. "Look at me and tell your name," he asked in a gentle voice, making all her worry wash away, and looked into his purple eyes. "Kin Tsuchi, Namikaze-sama," she said, blushing while poking her fingers shyly. "Kin, I'm not going to kill you, I sense the purity in your soul, don't be afraid, if you want I will have you put under my clan's protection, since I'm the head of both Namikaze and Uzumaki clans now." he said kindly, making her tear up and hug him tightly, saying, "Thank you," over and over again while he rubs her back softly. Naruto summons a Kage Bushin. "Take her to the compound where she is safe," he ordered, getting a nod from the clone, and disappears in a blue flash while he searched Dosu and Zaku and found both sets of scrolls. "Thanks for the scrolls, scum," Naruto said coldly, using his futon chakra to boost his speed, heading for the tower while noting a giant snake following. "Got ya right where I want ya, Oropedo." Naruto grinned mentally before increasing his speed. 2 hours later, Naruto lands in an open area. Looking around, he sees plenty of trees for finding cover. Just as he was about to move, he unsheathes Black Sun and sends a silent dimension cut at a group of snakes, making them poof out of sight. Naruto narrows his eyes before clapping his hands. "Mokuden. Moku Ryu no Jutsu," Naruto shouted as a giant wood dragon sprouted from the ground and flew toward the north with immense speed, destroying everything in its wake. Naruto cancels the jutsu and smirks, seeing his technique go all the way past the entrance, and suddenly spins on his heel, parrying a Gien blade with his sheathed blade while keeping his eyes on a pale-looking man with golden snake-like eyes. Naruto smirks and says in a mocking voice, "Well, what brings you here, hubby baka, prowling for a certain duckling?" Orochimaru glares at Naruto with ki, making Naruto get an amused look in his eyes before punching the snake Sannin in the stomach 10 times, making him cough up blood before knocking him away through a couple of trees. Orochimaru screams in pain, "Good God! This gaki broke almost all of my ribs with just one punch. I have to get out of here at least," I marked Sasuke-kun. Orochimaru cackled in pain before getting up to leave, but cries out in pain as lava splashes on his arm, melting it. Naruto smirks in sadistic glee at the pain his lava jutsu caused. He found out from Kyuubi de Tthe Rinnegan gives the wielder control over all elements, gives perfect chakra control, and makes your elements stronger. That made him giddy. That he also learned that the mental feedback of the shadow clones would not bother him anymore. He also found out that his Rinnegan had the abilities of the Byakugan without the blind spot, the eternal Mangekyo abilities without the drawbacks, and could use Kamui, Tsukuyomi, Susanoo, and Amaterasu without the harmful side effects. "Get out of here, Orochimaru. I already know about your plans for the Uchiha. If he leaves the village, I will dispose of him myself," Naruto said with finality before heading toward the tower, ignoring the hidden teams watching the fight. Naruto suddenly stops before turning his head slowly, seeing a purple aura close in on his position. "So you couldn't let your jealousy of me go, Sasuke?" Naruto mutters in pity before smacking away a barrage of mini fireballs in time to see a curse seal Sasuke looking at him with bloodlust and hatred while his aura is affecting the surroundings. Naruto looks toward the trees. "Guys, you can come out now," he said calmly as the people he saw at the entrance jumped down beside him with serious looks in their eyes. "Nice to meet you, Kuratsuchi Hime, Yugito Him, Fu-chan, Gaia-chan, Han-san." Naruto smiled, getting blushes from the girls and a nod from the giant man, who asks a question. "Naruto-san, what is wrong with your friend?" Everyone takes note of the markings covering Sasuke, who is looking at them with arrogance and annoyance. Naruto said coldly, "That runt isn't my friend. That asshole is Sasuke Uchiha, who was bitten by Orochimaru of the Sannin and is being controlled by the curse seal, and let his jealousy of my heritage and skills override his sanity. This asshole, along with Hatake Kakashi, tried to also use me as a shield to protect himself from getting killed by Zabuza Momochi by using the Kawarimi." Naruto finished with venom, getting horrified looks from the girls and the guys, throwing hate-filled glares to Sasuke, who is looking smug like he was proud of it. "No one does that to my fiancé and lives to tell about it," Kuratsuchi yelled with rage in her voice before punching Sasuke through a tree while Naruto is looking owlish for a moment before smiling. "I see, that's what those documents Oji-san showed me after my promotion, and am I to guess Gaia, Fu, and Yugito's names are on there as well?" Naruto said in a deadpan voice, getting nods from them. We can get to know each other better after we get to the tower. He said, getting nods from everyone till they see Sasuke running toward Kuratsuchi with lightning chirping in his hands, making Naruto narrow his eyes in rage before blurring in front of his fiancée and grabbed Sasuke's arm, dispelling the jutsu and slapping a seal on the curse mark, making the markings recede before knocking the Uchiha out and put him upon his shoulder. Naruto turns to the others and motions them to follow him and headed toward the tower to finish up. They soon reach the tower. Heading inside, they see a large arena with a stone ram sign on the wall before taking their scrolls out. Naruto sees the kanji for summoning and orders them to throw them on the ground as a poof of smoke appears, showing Kakashi, Iruka, and Kushina, who explained the meaning of the test, getting nods of understanding from them. Naruto turns toward Kakashi and throws Sasuke toward the scarecrow. Next time you teach your little bitch an assassination jutsu, make sure he doesn't aim at my fiancés or I will kill him. Naruto said darkly before walking to his room with his fiancés. Time skip. Chunin exam second round. Over the next few days, Naruto got to know his fiancés better and fixed Gaia's seal, allowing her to sleep and have better control over her Yuki, and helped with her taijutsu training and got a few more tips on jutsu, including his Yoden. He also had a confrontation with Team 8 as Kiba tried to do perverse things to his fiancés only to get punched out of the tower by a pissed off Naruto. Hinata revealed that her shy attitude and stutters was just a mask, shocking Naruto, and was further shocked when she confessed her feelings for him and accepted her, introducing her to his other fiancés who Hinata got along with easily and helped her train to be Junin level thanks to her having high chakra levels and shadow clones. All in all, it was an interesting week until one day both Naruto and Neji met, but it was more of a meeting. Flashback start. Neji, may I see your seal? Asked Naruto, getting a hesitant nod from the branch member who takes it off, showing a green swastika sign, making him frown. Neji, what is your clan doing with one of my mother's clan's Juinjutsu? Naruto said seriously, getting a wide-eye look from Neji, who explains that some of corrupt elders secretly stole it after the Second Shinobi War. Naruto listens with rapt attention before doing a few one-handed seals and placed his finger on the seal. Kai! He shouted as the seal cracked until a bright light covered Neji before disappearing, showing the Hyuga's true form, which made Naruto's jaw drop, cracking the ground. Neji was beautiful, still wearing the same outfit when she had the caged bird seal, except her eyes, which held hate, had kindness in them, long curvy legs, a slim waist, DD cup held back by her shirt. Neji gasps in surprise, being able to be her true self once more, and smiles with tears before hugging Naruto, and to his shock kissed him on the cheek. Thank you, Naruto, for releasing this caged bird, she whispered into his ear before running back to her teammates with a blush on her face. Naruto smiles at Neji being free before grabbing his katana and walked to his room, his hair blowing softly in the wind. Things are looking up for Konoha now, he murmured. Flashback end. Naruto snaps out of his thoughts to hear his surrogate grandfather's speech about the Chunin exams used as a simulation for war, making him shake his head at the explanation before taking notice of his mother's student Gecko Hayate having a sick look on his face, asking, does anyone want to forfeit? He sees Kabuto Yakushi forfeit, saying his chakra levels were low, making Naruto snort before silently signaling the root Anbu that Naruto had as his personal guard to subdue Kabuto, taking notice of Sarutobi, sending him an amused look. Does anyone wish to fight more than once? Asked the sick proctor, getting Naruto to raise his hand, nodding, eager to battle with finesse and skill. Time to show the true Naruto. He looks up at the screen to see the first match and deadpanned at his grandfather, who has a twitching eyebrow. Sasuke Uchiha vs Akado Yoroi. Skipping same as the canon. Konkuro Sabaku vs Mitsugi Tsurugi. Same as the canon, boring. Sai vs Omoi. Sai wins. Yugito vs Suzumaki. Yugito wins. Kuretsuchi vs Hisame. Kuretsuchi wins. Tamari vs Tenten. Same as the canon. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Sabaku vs Kiba Inuzuka. Everyone except the Hokage and Naruto gawked at his name while Kiba is howling in delight that he got the weak one, not noticing Naruto's eyes gain a predatory glint, one that Tsume notices and prays for her stupid son's survival. Kiba jumped over the rail onto the floor, nearly breaking his legs, while Naruto lifted his legs over the rail before flipping and landing on the floor, creating 15-foot crater that shook the entire building, shocking everyone. Before, to everyone's shock, a replica of Naruto came beside him and took off his jacket, showing him wearing black tight shirt, showing his developed body and his 12-pack that made all the women blush and get a nosebleed, while the guys are glaring at him in envy and jealousy for having a body like that. Ha! Trying to show off dead last. Kiba said arrogantly, only to get an uninterested look from Naruto, who slowly unsheathes his katana, black and red lightning arcing off of it while giving off a sense of despair, making Akamaru whimper and run back, jumping into Hana's embrace. Did you know, Kiba, that a human's most feared emotion is despair? He whispered ominously, making everyone get a sense of foreboding form the sword's aura. Naruto sees he has everyone's attention and continues. When someone feels despair, she loses all hope in ever achieving their goal due to the feeling of futileness in their efforts. He said wistfully before snapping his eyes open, showing his Rinnegan blazing in its glory. Kiba manages to get his bravado back. Ha! At least I am not a fanboy to the Haruno. He sneered until a cold smile spreaded on Naruto's face, one that made Gaia feel aroused. Ah, Haruno-san, well, she decided that trying to backstab me with the duck butt and the scarecrow in Wave Country, so I decided get revenge on her. He said sweetly, getting a nervous laugh from Kiba. How exactly? By pranking? Kiba said sarcastically, until he sees the same sand he saw Gaia use flow from the floor into Naruto's hand. No. I gave her death by crushing. Naruto smirked cruelly, making everyone who hated Naruto pale and shiver, something that Naruto took joy in causing. Also, don't think that those who hated me will be able to hurt me anymore. I hid my skills during the academy for you maggots to underestimate me. He smirked before continuing. And my plan worked very well to my expectations, since Ino, along with those disgraces called fangirls from the academy, thought that I was weaker than them. He sneered venomously at a fuming Ino, who always tried to make sure Naruto was meek. Let us get on with the match. I have promised to take my fiancés, Hinata and another Hyuga girl, on a date. Naruto sighed boredly, getting confused looks at who his fiancés were. Kiba charged at Naruto with low Chunin speeds, going for a swipe to the fast, thinking that Naruto was all talk, only to yelp in pain from getting smacked in the face by the flat of the blade. Dead. Naruto deadpanned, making Neji snicker, getting weird looks from Guy and Tenten. Kiba growls before unleashing a barrage of swipes, trying to claw Naruto to death, who dodges, leaving a smoky trail, Wesker's dodging in RE5 sweet making the Inuzuka even more frustrated. What's the matter? Kiba can't handle my shadow steps since you became so arrogant to think I was weak. Naruto said mockingly, getting a feral snarl form. The dog boy on lands on his hands and feet. Shiaku no Jutsu. Kiba howled before dashing at him with faster speeds, only to get smacked by Naruto upside the head, looking at him with disappointment in his eyes. Naruto said, shaking his head. I am very disappointed, Kiba. After reading your emotions, I only see jealous, envy, greed, and lust. Those emotions that cause many to turn rouge on a village, and you are no better than the Uchiha. Naruto said emotionlessly, making everyone wince at the jab Naruto made to Kiba's ego. Kiba began to saw red and pulled out a kunai and slashed at Naruto with reckless abandon, trying to kill the demon prince, making everyone gasp at Kiba's actions. Naruto decided to use a new speed technique he made with his fire chakra, Kusai Hako, fire step. He blurred as crimson fire arced off his feet as Naruto seemed to blur behind Kiba and launched a strike to Kiba's chakra point, making him howl in pain. Kiba swung his leg to kick Naruto only for him to slap it away and launch 4 punches toward Kiba's ribs, cracking them, making Kiba black out from the pain, and Naruto picks up his coat and jumps up next to Neji, who gives him a shoulder massage, making him groan in content. Tenten gawks at her teammate but looks more closely and her eyes bulged for a moment. Neji! She yelled, making everyone look at who Tenten was looking at, and their jaws dropped off their hinges at seeing a beautiful girl. Yes, Tenten, I am Neji and I was not always a boy. Neji said, annoyed while continuing to massage Naruto's shoulders. I thought you were a guy, not a female. Tenten said, confused, making Naruto open his eyes. It's because I got rid of that seal on her forehead. Naruto said, casually, getting bulged eyes from everyone including the clan heads, especially Hiashi, who saw the chance to rid the side branch of the caged bird seal and unite the Hyuga clan as one. Naruto suddenly asked Hiashi a question. Hiashi Kyofu, may I ask why your clan's elders have the caged bird seal, which is a Juinjutsu of the Uzumaki? Naruto questioned, getting strange looks from everyone, even the Hokage. Naruto sees their confusion. The caged bird seal was a Juinjutsu developed for torturing criminals and Nuke Nin for information, but apparently some of the elders placed some seals into it to change Neji Haime's gender and her personality so that she would hate Hinata. Naruto said, venomously planning on killing the elders of the council. Hinata's eyes widened before narrowing as she subconsciously activated her Byakugan and unleashed Anbu-level killing intent with a murderous aura surrounding her, making everyone slowly back away from her. Neji giggles in amusement at her cousin's anger and smirks deviantly, something that Tenten noticed and shuddered at how similar it was to Naruto's. Neji kneels at Naruto's back and licks his earlobe in front of everyone, making Hinata blush at her cousin's boldness, while Hiashi had to be held by Sume and Inoichi to not meme Naruto. Naruto shivered in pleasure. You know, Neji Haime, if you continue I won't be able to restrain myself in taking you in front of everyone. He said in a husky voice that made Neji shudder at how he sounds and gasps as Naruto squeezes her. She smacks his shoulder and mock pouts, that was low, Naruto-kun, arousing me for no reason at all. She grinned at him, getting a smug smirk from him. Neji and Naruto got to know each other after the seal was off of her forehead and found out many things about each other that made them both sad and angry. Neji was very angry at how Naruto was treated just for something out of his control. Naruto was saddened at how divided Neji and Hinata's clan was. To put a curse seal to control your own family is disgusting. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Sabaku vs Ino Yamanaka. Naruto smirked coldly, making Asuma flinch and feel sorry for Ino as he sees both walking toward each other, one with arrogance, the other with confidence and grace. Mayonaka no Orchestra by Aqua Times. Ready to lose, Naruto Baka. Ino screeched arrogantly as she charged at him with 3 bushins behind her, only to see Naruto stomp the floor and twist his foot, causing the earth under Ino to launch her in the air, making her cry out surprise. Elemental bending is something only those who dedicate themselves to training past their limits without giving up. Naruto said sagely as he smashed his fist into the ground, causing an earthquake, shaking Ino off balance before using his shadow step to attack her using his Tai Kenjutsu style, leaving many bruises on the blonde Yamanaka, who is foaming at the mouth in rage. The spectators are looking at the match with awe at how graceful Naruto's fighting style is. Hokage-sama, what Kenjutsu style is Naruto-kun using? Asked Yugao, who is looking to having a fangirl moment, making the Sandaime chuckle with mirth. That Yugao is Naruto's personally created hybrid fighting style that uses high-speed maneuvers to counter, attack, and dodge. He has other styles, except 3 of them are so deadly he can permanently destroy someone's career as a shinobi, Sarutobi explained, getting shocked looks from everyone who heard him. What styles are they, Hokage-sama? Guy asked seriously. Nanto Saiken and Hokuto Shinken. he said in a grim tone, making everyone who heard of that style pale even whiter. Even the Oto Junin is sweating. Hokage-sama, how did Naruto come into possession of the most deadliest taijutsu styles known to man? He can practically kill someone with using only his fists," said a hysterical guy who knows how dangerous those two styles are. Guy, Naruto has already mastered the styles and has it to the point where he can do crippling blows, Sarutobi stated quickly, seeing the terrified looks. Naruto's fiancées watch the fight from the upper levels and are shocked at his speed and reflexes. I really hope none of Gigi's idiots try to assassinate him, otherwise Naruto-kun is gonna tear them apart, she muttered, rubbing her face. The others nodded in agreement with Kuretsuchi's words. Naruto is beyond the ability of a cage, that is definitely for sure. Naruto uses his sheathed sword to bat away any launched kunai before spin-kicking Ino into the wall, knocking her out completely, ending the match before teleporting next to Kuretsuchi and the others who crowded toward him, looking him over for any injuries. "Himes, I'm fine. Ino didn't land a scratch on me, okay?" he said calmly, causing their worry to dissipate, getting nods before watching the rest of the matches that were no fun. Elite Junin Naruto Namikaze, your undercover mission is complete, Sarutobi announced, getting wide eyes from the genin and others while Anko is looking at him with a lustful grin. Naruto notices her gaze and smiles at her, making Anko have a pink hue on her cheeks. Suddenly he teleports next to her and placed a palm on her shoulder, making Anko give him a surprised look until it morphed into pain. Naruto activates his human path and uses it to pull out a black substance from the seal on Anko's shoulder until it forms into an orb, making his eyes narrow. So this is Orochimaru's 10. No Juin, glad I had the idea of using my soul-stealing abilities, he muttered before crushing the sphere, only for a scream of rage to erupt from it. The Oto Junin looks at Naruto with rage and vengeance in his eyes before shining away with one last thought: I swear I will make you suffer for messing with my seal, Namikaze. The man hissed inwardly, not seeing Naruto's smirk. Anko looked at him with tears in her eyes before hugging him like a lifeline, afraid to let him go. Shish, it's alright Anko-chan, you don't have that stupid seal anymore, he said soothingly to Anko, who suddenly gives him a kiss on the lips, stunning him. Thank you Naruto, Jiraiya always said it couldn't be removed, she said lowly, getting a quirked eyebrow. He said that because his perverted was too damn lazy to study the damn seal. Naruto said in exasperation at a Sannin being so lazy because of her own rank. Naruto listens to the Sandame's speech on the final round for the exams, getting some cries of outrage and nods of understanding from the more calm-headed ones before telling them to take 2 months to come up with different tactics and train more. Naruto heads to the Hokage Tower since he felt some people enter with the Hokage a few minutes ago, and leaves in a blaze of azure blue flames, getting jealous looks from the Junin. Hokage Tower . Naruto appears in the Hokage's office only to smack away a hand with a swirling sphere in it, making his eyes narrow into slits, making the others flinch back at the coldness in his eyes. Someone's being quite jumpy, aren't we, Ero Sennin? Naruto said sarcastically, making the women snicker at the jab toward the man's skills. Says the wannabe ninja who probably won by luck. Jiraiya shot back pathetically, making Naruto quirk an eyebrow before disappearing in a blue flash behind the toad Sannin, making him gasp at the wind-covered Rasengan position to drill him in the back. I already have surpassed 2 in his own jutsus thanks to my inhuman learning rate. It wasn't hard to figure the Rasengan out since it was basically a cage-level chakra control exercise. Naruto shrugged, seeing their baffled looks. I so guess you mastered your father's flying thunder god jutsu? Asked a multi-hair-colored woman with cold eyes. Yes, I did. All I had to do was just follow the pull and was able to land it perfectly on my first try, he said proudly, getting amazed looks from everyone except Jiraiya, who is looking kinda jealous. Naruto holds his hand to the woman, which she shakes. Name's Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Sabaku. I'm guessing you are Pakura of the Shikuden, correct? He said, getting a slow nod from the woman. You know Pakura, I won't betray your trust, so no need to look at me with such coldness. I know what it's like to be discriminated against for something out of your control. He said sympathetically, getting a look of understanding from the woman. Thank you, Naruto. I had a hard time trusting people in my own village other than the cage due to people being jealous of me having a Kekkei Genkai. She said sadly. Bunch of bakas if you ask me. Just because you have a Kekkei Genkai doesn't make the fighter, it's how you wield it. He spoke fiercely. I would like to talk later if you have time, Naruto. Pakura asked, getting a smile from the container. He pulls out a black tri-prong kunai and hands it to her. If you need me, just pulse your chakra through this kunai and I'll be there in a flash. Pakura nodded in thanks before placing it in her pouch. Jiraiya leers at Pakura while scribbling notes with blood running down his nose, only to roar in pain as a hand of golden sand pokes him in the out the roof and into the hot springs. Everyone looks at the hand and the innocent-looking Naruto before the guys jump back with their hands on their rears, eyeing him warily, making Naruto fall to the floor, laughing his off at them. Nice shot, Naruto-kun, said a blonde woman with a green haori, making him turn to her and gasp seeing her familiar face. Godmother, he whispered, making Tsunade gasp under her breath before hugging him with tears streaming down her face. I thought you were dead. She sobbed, making his eyes widen before narrowing as they changed to a golden amber color. Oji-san, I am this close from going to the homes of the civilian council and executing them using my sand. Naruto said coldly, making everyone sweat from the pressure of Naruto's emerald green aura that is flaring widely. Naruto, calm down, don't waste your breath on them. Tsunade shouted, getting him to slowly clam down with a sigh. Thanks, Godmother, it's just that those assholes have messed with my life enough times already and even made Mikoto leave the village with Itachi knees just for sparing her. He sighed, annoyed, making them narrow their eyes, remembering the Uchiha massacre. Ji-san, why are all of the cages here? Naruto asked curiously. Mei-sama is here due to the marriage contract made by your father, and Oniki are here to see who their daughters are being married to. As for Jiraiya, he's here to make sure the seal is working. He explained, getting a nod but narrows his eyes at the last part. Sorry, Ji-san, I know he is your student, but I am not letting someone like him mess with something too san-made. He is already too lazy that Anko-chan didn't get her curse seal removed earlier. He said heatedly, getting looks from Tsunade and Shizune. Brat, you better show me some respect. I am a genuine seal master, thank you. Jiraiya said smugly, only to get shot down by Naruto's next statement. Then how was I able to destroy the curse seal? By removing the soul implanted in it, thanks to you not killing your insane teammate when you had a chance. Naruto shot back, making Jiraiya flinch at his failure. Another thing, Jiraiya, me, I already have Kyuubi's power mastered. Naruto said as he instantly activated his nine-tailed cloak, making his features look more feral, getting odd looks from everyone, even the Hokage. How long can you hold it exactly? The most my brother could hold his cloak was 10 hours at most. A said, analyzing his cloak, noting it looked golden. I trained this power to be able to last as long as I want, thanks to Kyuubi unlocking my demonic heritage, since he holds the Jubi's ability to mark his host as a demon prince. Naruto chuckled, getting a glare from Jiraiya. You would trust a demon to keep his word? He said in disbelief, only to get a ice-cold glare that made him step back. At least Kyuubi took care of me instead of your perverted. Naruto snarled, blasting Jiraiya with Kyuubi-powered ki, making the man fall to the floor, clutching his throat. Naruto deactivated the cloak while giving Jiraiya a look of disgust. Not even 0.01% of my killing intent and you're already about to keel over. He said in a bored tone, making the cages sweat at how that wasn't even his full killing intent. Naruto sighed. Gigi, I have to go to my training ground so I can master my dujutsu further. he said before disappearing in a blue flash, ignoring Jiraiya's idiotic attitude. Namikaze compound training ground . Naruto is sitting in lotus position within his Biju mode, surrounding him in a golden cloak with his hair spiked up more in a cloak similar to his dad's on him, and is subconsciously manipulating his Yuki to form different Rasengan variants. He has been going for more than 5 hours since he placed seals to slow the time perception down tremendously. Naruto suddenly sensed a chakra signature at his door that made him sigh in annoyance, recognizing it was Kakashi and Sasuke, and Kin. That made him raise an eyebrow before flashing toward the entrance to see Sasuke trying to force his way inside, only to get blasted backwards by a kick from Naruto. "May I ask what you assholes are doing on my property?" Naruto demanded coldly, making Sasuke snarl at him. "I want your jutsu sword, and your women dobi." Sasuke demanded, only to get slammed against the wall by a pissed-off Naruto, whose eyes flashed into the Rinnegan, glaring deep into the Uchiha heir's eyes. "Maybe you didn't heed my warning the first time in Wave Country. Seems I will have to show you the consequences of demanding my fiancés from me, Mugen Tsukuyomi," Naruto said coldly. Tsukuyomi world . Sasuke looks around to see himself to see a red moon with 9 commas on it, making him sweat since this reminded him of Itachi's Tsukuyomi. "Glad you decided to join us, Sasuke." Naruto's voice sounded out, making Sasuke snap his head toward the voice, only to see Naruto sitting on a throne with 2 kitsune women massaging his scalp. Naruto motioned them to stop, only to get a pout, which he gave them a chaste kiss that gave them a glazed look before walking toward his victim, who is sweating even more as Naruto comes closer. Immediately Sasuke is suddenly chained to a cross with Naruto in front of him, looking at him with an emotionless stare until he pierced Sasuke's leg with his finger, making the boy scream in pain. "That was the pain for causing me misery along with your lapdogs in the academy," Naruto said in monotone before pulling out Black Sun, with clones appearing around Sasuke with the same weapon. "Now you will be stabbed for the next 72 hours. Prepare yourself, Uchiha," Naruto said in a sadistic tone before piercing Sasuke in the gut, making him grit his teeth trying to endure the pain, only to gasp as he is stabbed in the back. "It's just a genjutsu. It isn't real," Sasuke said in his mind, only to be cut off by a cold, cruel chuckle from Naruto, who gives him an amused look. "That is where you are wrong, Sasuke. In this realm I control time, space, even physical mass are under my control." He emphasized this by plunging his katana deeper, making Sasuke cry out in pain. "My Tsukuyomi is different than Itachi ni's. His only lasted 72 hours. Mine lasts for an eternity, so don't think you will be getting off easy." Naruto smirked, making Sasuke whimper, only to get stabbed 3 times, making him scream even louder. 71 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds to go, little Sasuke, Naruto said darkly, making Sasuke scream in horror as Naruto laughs at his tortured screams. Couldn't resist Naruto pulling a Alucard with Naruto. Sasuke suddenly lets out a blood-chilling scream that made Kakashi's blood run cold as his eyes went glossy with a drop of drool on his mouth. "Pathetic, he didn't even last that long," Naruto said in disappointment before throwing him towards Kakashi, making the man slide back from the force. "Take that weakling with you and never show your face around my place again, Hatakai. Next time I will turn yours and his mind into a vegetable," Naruto growled before knocking both past the gate with a silent Shinra Tensei and went back inside to see Kin looking at him with worry. "Don't worry about me, Kin-chan, I've just had a busy day. Go to the training grounds and train. I don't want you to be slacking off," Naruto ordered, getting a nod. "I understand, Naruto-sama," Kin said before heading toward the training grounds, making him chuckle at the honorific. "You know she has feelings for you, Kit," Kyuubi told his container, who nodded, already noticing the signs. "I know, Ni-san. I'll take her on a date after the Chunin exams if Akatsuki doesn't annoy me." Naruto huffed before laying down in his bed. Kyuubi laid down on his paws while thinking of what to say. Kit, just kill them so they won't bother us anymore and make sure you kill that fake Madara. Kyuubi growled, remembering that moron posing as Madara ha. Like he could even come close to that man's level. Naruto snorts and closes his eyes to sleep, knowing these 2 months are going to be real troublesome. Time skip. 2 months later. During the 2-month time period, Naruto decided he wasn't going to slack off, so he trained himself non-stop, only stopping to eat, drink, and sleep and train. He also worked on his Yuki control till he could form the Biju Dama with only a little bit of Yuki. He even trained with his fiancés for the invasion and found out that his Rinnegan was a Uzumaki bloodline limit, and found out thanks to Kyuubi, who modified it, he had 9 paths of pain instead of 6. He found the shared vision to be very useful since he could see from different angles. He mastered all the powers of his paths to the point where he could do them with a single thought. He worked on his Lie technique so he could do it in a single millisecond, something that would impress the samurai in Tetsu no Kuni. He mastered the Rasengan to the point where he could control the size, power, and speed, making it even deadlier than his father's. Minato would be crying man tears from his son's prowess in ninjutsu. He also honed his skills using his aura and taijutsu in conjunction, creating a very deadly combo that would destroy his opponents from the inside out or cause them to implode, getting praises from his brother figure Kyuubi that made him swell in pride, but not where he got arrogant. Kyuubi reminded him of that painfully. He also had a mock spar with his fiancés, and let's just say he was cackling madly since they couldn't hit him, ending up with them chasing at him screaming vengeance, which amused him. He also got to know much more about his godmother and her apprentice Shizune, and found out that, much to his small anger, that Tsunade was lied to about him being dead was none other than Jiraiya, his own godfather. Just because of a prophecy told to him by his own summons that pissed Naruto off so much that it made him activate his chakra shroud, but was calmed down by Shizune much to her embarrassment. Jiraiya tried many times to put a blocker on him so his abilities won't be so great, too bad he doesn't know about his Biju mode's second form. Naruto looked through his family's scrolls for a second summoning animal that was recommended by his friend Kase Taka, the boss summons of the Taka clan, and found the summoning for the phoenixes that had told them that the sage modes for the Taka and Fenikisu clans were the most powerful due to not being limited to increased chakra stores, and enhanced speed, power, and reaction time. They taught their summoners Kenjutsu, ninjutsu from their clans, and their own genjutsu and senjutsu. Naruto immediately signed it and learned that both clans were best friends and agreed to allow him to summon both their clans, but warned them to never associate with the Gamma clan since they seemed to have a habit of spouting prophecy bullshit. The rest of the month was spent with upgrading the village's defenses, with many seals that turned Konoha from a shadow of itself to an unstoppable fortress. Naruto even upgraded the sensor barrier that stretched in every direction to different countries, quite an enormous feat that the demon prince achieved. Kushina and the others finally forced him to relax and take a break since all he was doing was training, which he hesitantly accepted and spent the last few weeks with them. That doesn't mean he didn't slack off. He remedied this by summoning thousands of clones. After a span of 2 months was where the final event will begin. Chunin exam finals. Naruto looked down at the third match with boredom as he watched his cousin Kankuro act in a match with Aburame, shaking his head at the puppet user's overconfidence, and saw Crow stab Shino multiple times only for him to disperse into many bugs that quickly latched onto the chakra strings, causing a distracted Kankuro to pass out from chakra exhaustion. Winner: Shino Aburame. Genma announced, getting roaring approval from the audience at a good match, but there were some because of Shino's bloodline, making him frown in distaste at the stupidity of these people. Naruto decided it was illogical to make those who don't understand see the light. Damn, now I'm starting to sound like Shino, he said sarcastically, getting snickers from the other Junin. They suddenly freeze as a hand of earth shot out, pointing their fingers near where the sun don't shine, making them sweat badly since they have been on the receiving end of that move many times. Naruto smiles sweetly. Now what were you going to say? The Junin laugh nervously before bolting out of there, with Naruto watching with amusement, taking note of the cage's dry looks, making him look at them with an innocent look. What? He asked innocently. Don't you give me that innocent look, Naruto-kun. Pakura mock scolded, getting a pout from Naruto, who suddenly smiles seductively, making Pakura shiver all of a sudden. You know. Pakura shudders as she felt Naruto's breath on her neck. I wonder when's the last time you loosened up. Naruto breathed in her ear, making her blush matching that of a tomato, making the cage snicker before looking away when she glared at him. Naruto suddenly looked down at the arena and scowled as a whirlwind of leaves manifested in the center of the arena, revealing Kakashi and Sasuke back to back, looking smug all of a sudden. G-sama, allow Sasuke his match. I want to see his futile attempt to even harm Gaia. Naruto smiled coldly, getting evil grins from the others. Genma. Allow the Uchiha his match, even if it is just a futile one. Hiruzen smirked, seeing their angered looks, giving himself a mental pat on the back for his taunt. Kakashi looked at the Sandaime in shock and tried to plead to him, but all he got were cold sneers, meaning this old man wasn't going to bend over backwards for the Uchiha. Kakashi gritted his teeth before body flickering up to the stands with the rest of the Junin, who are giving him disappointed looks, making him growl before glaring at Naruto out of the corner of his eye, who had a smirk that said, "This payback bastard. Uzumaki's always get even, always." Genma looks at the two contestants with a bored look before raising his hand and swinging it down in a chopping motion. Hajime. He shouted before shining next to Naruto and Kushina. Sasuke smirks before blurring at low Jonin speeds that only made Gaia raise an eyebrow, amused, before blocking a punch and slammed an elbow into his before shifting on her left foot and launched a roundhouse that shot Sasuke back towards the wall, forming a crater. Is that all, Uke-tem? I thought you boasted about being a god after you tried to save your own neck by using my fiancé as a human shield. Gaia said venomously, her eyes changing to a golden four-pointed star boring into him. Everyone who heard this glared at Kakashi and the Uchiha. Most of it was the shinobi, while the civilians were shouting death threats to her about insulting their Uchiha-sama. Naruto and the others look at the scene with amusement, while the cage gives Naruto a look with mirth in his sea-green eyes. It seems my Masumi has been affected quite a lot, wouldn't you say, grandson? He grinned mischievously, making Naruto's eye twitch in annoyance, making the others snicker. Naruto suddenly smirks evilly. At least I ain't short and limp like someone. He teased, getting snickers from Kushina, Mei, and Tsunade, while the males sulk in the corner. Haha, you just got your asses burnt. Anko cackled with Kurenai and Kin, while Asuma gives them a dry look. Sasuke glares at her in hatred and envy and again runs his mouth. Shut up, you nobody, you're nothing but a bastard child of a backwater village. He shouted arrogantly, not seeing the Junin's eyes widen before a massive killing intent slammed down on the arena. Everyone looked up to see Naruto emitting a green battle aura with his Rinnegan glinting dangerously while smiling demonically. What was that, Sasuke? I didn't hear you correctly. Did you just insult my fiancé's village out in front of me? Naruto said sweetly, making everyone except Kushina flinch and shiver at the sadistic undertone in his voice. Kushina sighs at Naruto's sadistic nature before patting his head, instantly causing the crushing pressure to dissipate, giving everyone a chance to breath, while Naruto sighs, "Thanks, Kushi-chan," he said boredly. Gaara shakes her head before flipping through one-handed seal, stopping on the dragon seal, Doden, Taju Doryuden no Jutsu. She shouted as the 5 massive earth dragons emerged from the ground, making Sasuke curse as he barely dodges the earth dragons, while the last one manages to clip his leg, making him scream in pain. You damn bitch, I'll make sure you suffer in front of your pathetic fiancé. He yelled only to get a snort from her, making him glare at her even harder before black markings start to spread across his body and a chaotic purple chakra to explode off of him. Sasuke begins to laugh insanely, getting narrowed eyes from everyone while giving glares to a sweating Kakashi who didn't think his student would resort to that. Sasuke suddenly flipped through 3 seals for gripping his hand as a chirping sound caused everyone who recognized that jutsu to snap their eyes toward the insane Uchiha to see him holding a black ball of lightning in his hand. Naruto narrowed his eyes into slits. It seems, Sasuke has not heeded my warning the last time I put him in that genjutsu, but to use this jutsu against Gaia. It seems he is hoping for death, he said in a calm cold tone, making everyone nod before glaring at a nervous Hatake. I finally get to have some revenge on the Dobi of a Namikaze by using your cold, dead corpse as an example. He sneered, only getting blank look before blurring out of view, and suddenly Sasuke's world suddenly exploded in pain as he coughed up blood from the fist in his gut, from aboard Gaia. Sasuke blurred away from her, appearing on a wall with a look of madness in his Sharingan eyes before charging the Chidori again before running in a burst of speed at high Jonin levels, lightning trailing behind him. A few more seconds Sasuke slowly approaches her while everything seemed to slow down, with his hand an inch from her heart, only for her to phase out of existence, only to appear above Sasuke with a ball of chakra in her hand. Naruto grinned. Do it, Gaia, he shouted, getting a smirk from her before plunging the sphere into Sasuke's back, making him scream in pain as the jutsu exploded, causing a massive boom to sound out. The dust clears to show Gaia standing a few feet away from Sasuke, who had a very big bruise on his back while laying in a crater unconscious. Genma was about to announce the winner when feathers starting floating down the sky, only for everyone's eyes to widen. Genjutsu. They instantly dispelled it as a huge explosion sounded outside of Konoha to see a bunch of huge 3-headed snakes stalking toward the gates, with a large army of Odo Nin trailing behind them, looking ready to fire off jutsu after jutsu. Naruto suddenly smirked. Hey guys, why don't I introduce you to my new summons? He said sweetly, making everyone pray for the slaughter that's about to commence. Naruto bit his finger and flipped through 5 seals before slamming his hands on the ground. Naiju Kuchios, he shouted as large clouds of smoke blasted everywhere, only to get blown away by a screech to reveal something that made everyone pale. 2 birds, but not any normal birds. There are the boss summons of the legendary Phoenix and Taka clans, Fenikisu, and Taka, the boss of summons that surpass any contract out there, with Naruto standing in the air between them with crimson red marking around his eyes while the irises look like a blazing gold. Kushina gasped, getting everyone's attention. Kushina, what is up with Naruto's eyes? They look different. Tsunade asked, only to get 2 words that made them grin. Senin Moto. Fenikisu looks at his summoner out of the corner of his eye and smirks in pride at how quickly Naruto mastered their arts. Well, it seems you have surpassed my expectations yet again, Booyah, he said in pride while Naruto gives him a smirk before his hair suddenly flashes into a bright gold with electricity sparking around and his eyes turning a blazing scarlet gold, with his energy blasting off him like a flame piercing the heavens. He looks over his shoulder at them. For Konoha, he roared, getting war cries from everyone before engaging the enemy with fire burning in their eyes, making him grin seeing their fire renewed. He turned his eye back to his summons. Taka-sama, Fenikisu-sama, take out the snake summons while I take care of the ninja, he ordered, getting devilish grins before the 2 bird summons launched waves of fire and wind at the large snake summons while Naruto uses his Dark Slayer style along with Kuro Taiyo to decimate their forces. With the Chunin, damn, this kid's a freaking kami damn leader, and to have summons for the 2 clans stronger than any other contract out there tells me he will go far. Asuma said, amazed, with the others agreeing except a scarecrow Chunin thinking Naruto doesn't deserve those things. With the cage, Kushina, and Tsunade, Kushina sliced Oto Nin's head off while her chakra chains pierce whatever comes close while keeping her eyes out for anything that seems hostile while grinning madly. Yoden. Yokai no Jutsu. Mei's voice shouted before a colossal wave of lava hit a small group of Oto Nin, melting them, instantly getting a whistle from her, knowing that's gonna hurt. Nice shout, Mei-chan. Kushina chirped, getting chuckles from everyone who knew she always lifted the mood even when in battle.